Welcome to Olympia College, Penang. It is indeed a great honor and privilege for me to introduce you to a role model of note, a man of distinction, Professor Balasubramani from India. Professor Balasubramani is an associate professor of Bharatiya University, India. Professor Balasubramani specialized in finance, investment management, accounting, and e-commerce. He has 30 years of teaching and research experience both in India and abroad. He received the Best Student Award from Sri Vasavi College, India. He has also written a book on financial market on behalf of National Stock Exchange and contributes articles regularly in Dana Mala Daily Erode edition. Now, let us welcome Professor Balasubramani for his speech on exploring investment opportunity in Asia investment perspective.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning to all of you. I would like to share some of my views on India's economic development. If you are able to understand my conversation, please let me know. I will slow down. Somebody to operate. So India is a success story in the existing investment universe of emerging markets. There are two nations which are fast developing, and number one is China and number two is India. See, any talk about India and the economic development cannot ignore the mentioning about China, because it is the number one developing country and it is also a developed country in the ASEAN region. Not only in the ASEAN region, but in the entire world. As I said, it is the second of the two big emerging markets. The first one is China. And in many respects, the two countries, China and India, are complementary. Either in the family system, a joint family system, taking care for the elderly and all these things, China and India share common features. The China's growth has been driven primarily by the government. You all know well that China is a communist country, and the essence of communism is the absence of private ownership. Even around 1980s, China realized that communism, when it is followed to its true spirit, cannot help the development of China. As a result, they deviated from communism and they openly invited Japanese industrialists and entrepreneurs to start industries in China. It's a total deviation from the policy of communism. And India's growth is driven not only by government but even by the private sector. The economic liberalization of 1990s in India have induced this growth. There are many compelling reasons about which let us discuss later, and that only contributed for the development of India. Both the private sector and public sector have contributed for this growth, but previously India has given importance only to public sector, the net result, the retardation development. India was not always a poor country. See, around the 1800s, both India and China totally accounted for nearly 50% of the world gross domestic product. India was subject to colonial exploitation. It was under the British rule for a very long time. Not only that, it does not have the access to revolutionary changes in business and technology of the Western world. hence there was stagnation of the economy, of the Indian economy. What are the reasons for this economic stagnation? There are many reasons that have contributed for the economic stagnation. The poor state of India's institutional setup. The institutional setup which we inherited from the British Raj have not helped the development of the Indian economy. The setup was like that. The lack of access to industrial revolution. The Western countries enjoyed the benefits of industrial revolution, but unfortunately India was not. Then delinking from the world economy. Earlier, the Indian economy was insulated from other countries. Whatever development that is taking place in other countries, it will not have any impact on India. And whatever is happening in India, it will not have any impact on other countries. The policies that stifle the efficiency of the private sector. No importance was given to private sector earlier. Then the absence of innovation. All these things led to India's economic stagnation. Then after independence and up to 1980s, India experienced industrial controls. It resulted in inefficiency in the public sector. Immediately after the independence, the primary task of the rulers was to develop India. What is the policy to be pursued? There are two policies at that time to make a country industrially developed or to take the country to the path of growth. One was communism and another one was capitalism. India was in a dilemma whether to choose the communism or capitalism. The communism led by USSR and the capitalism led by USA. But India was not able to choose any one of these two, and as a result, what happened? It has taken some futures from capitalism and some futures from communism and got it mixed, and in India, mixed economy was followed. That mixed economy have not led India to growth, to progress. The per capita GDP was minimum. The standard of living of the people is not worth mentioning. The India followed conservative policies both in fiscal and monetary front. At each and every stage there will be some control. You have to get a license for anything and everything. It retarded the development for a very long time in India. After 1980s, the Indian policymakers threw away the fiscal conservatism. They realized that the policy that India followed all these days will not help the development of the country. Then afterwards, India started to travel in the road to growth. The growth in the 1980s was financed by debt, particularly foreign commercial debt. There was some inflow, there was some capital that was obtained from foreign countries in the form of debt, and it has resulted we call it as switching on of the growth. And this development, this growth with the help of foreign debt is not without any problem. The high level of debt servicing, the debt is to be serviced, interest is to be paid at periodical intervals, and the rising import bill due to an increase in oil prices. You know pretty well that around 1970s, to be very specific, in 1976, the OPEC countries have realized the strength of their black gold, that is oil. They raised the oil price like anything, from $5 a barrel at the start of 1970s to $30, a 600% increase at the end of 1970s. It has created an inflationary pressure in almost all the countries. No country is an exception. And India was severely affected. The rising cost of the import bill due to the increase in oil prices led to a famine crisis in 1991. The crisis was very severe